Hello, welcome to Talking with Faith People. I'm host Eric. I'm here with an array of assorted others, and we are talking about Pokemon Go. I don't know anything about it, but I know that Stephen Brooks plays it because I saw his Facebook post about it. So he's discovered a technique called riding the bus. Stephen, why don't you tell us about that?
Ride a bus, you'll save yourself from a whole shit ton of walking. You will catch, I think in a 2.5-hour bus ride, anywhere from 50 to 60 Pokemon. You will get 100 Pokeballs, and you will game that terrible walking system. Not to say that I don't walk. I think that the game is awesome, that it encourages walking. But I also do not like spending money on a game where the server crashes every hour.
What level are you?
9 right now. I started on launch day just to download the app and open it. The problem though has been, like I said, the server crashes so many times. Like I went out to a park. I went to a park yesterday, and it was nice. Like it was a big park in San Jose here in the Bay Area. Over 200 kids in this giant park, all playing Pokemon Go. But I would try to catch Pokemon. I would throw a little ball, and then the game would freeze. And so now I've wasted a resource in the game that's finite. My game is frozen, so I have to start my cell phone over again. And long story short, after having my game freeze up 20 times in 30 minutes, I said F it and I go grab a beer. The Go in Pokemon Go stands for when the server is down or your game crashes, go grab a beer.
Sure, yeah, the game does crash a lot. It's really inconsistent, but that's like to be expected for like day one traffic.
Yeah, I don't know, it's just funny. It's like they had, years leading up to this game. You would think that they understand, well, it's Niantic or whatever, and you would think that they know how rabid the, fan base is, but, with all their testing or stress testing, I guess they just can't, they don't anticipate just how popular this damn property is.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that Pokemon Go servers are based off of Ingress servers, which is the game that came before. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're predicated on that, and I don't think Ingress servers are like necessarily equipped to hold the amount of traffic that Pokemon fans are giving it.
I'm no engineer or graphic designer. I just like to play one on the weekends. What I wonder is why they went with with 3D. I feel like that's also part of the problem too. Like you're trying to send all this information out, and like if I was building a game like that, I wouldn't build it as. I've seen screenshots of Ingress, right? Like obviously, I'm not advocating that they build something as basic as that, but I feel like couldn't they have done something with simple 2D animation or cell shading? Like a lot of the recent Zelda games have used that type of animation style, and I think that would sort of be like something less stressful for your phone. Maybe potentially less stressful for their servers, and hopefully maybe that would help it, run better. Like I don't know. Like as cool as the graphics are, like I think they should have gone a different direction.
Yeah, the graphics do feel a little bit empty right now, but that might just be like the area that you're living in, something like that. But yeah, it does kind of feel out of place.
Yep.
But yeah.
So what do you guys feel about the? There was a story about how there was a bunch of people that were luring Pokemon Go players to certain spots in order to
to rob them, yeah.
Yeah. What do you guys think about that?
You know what? Like, and this is probably a discussion that Eric would enjoy. I think Pokemon Go is really awesome because the load screen is this guy walking, and there's a giant Gyarados dragon right next to him. It looks like he's about to walk into the mouth of this dragon, right? And I've always as soon as I started hearing all these stories about how people were driving while playing Pokemon Go and getting robbed while playing Pokemon Go, I think Pokemon Go is also just an extension of Darwinism. It's weeding out all the stupid people who would do these stupid things, right? Like if there's a Pokemon outside your house and you live in the ghetto and you go outside 5 blocks from your house at 3 a.m. in the morning in the fucking ghetto, I'm sorry, that's almost your fault at that point, right? Like I'm not gonna go risk my life to fucking catch Pidgey, right? I live in the Mexican gang neighborhood and I know not to go out past 2 a.m. That's just smarts. It should be like Pokemon Go, learn some common sense.
Yeah.
And you know what they should do? You know what? Like, they should update a patch, right? And users should be able to like geotag, like, this is the ghetto, this is where all the rich white people live, this is where, like, you know, safe zones are. And then, like, if kids who live in the ghetto try to leave their house, like, at bad hours, there should be a pop-up that says, hey, you live in the ghetto, are you sure? Right? Or yeah, maybe I can stop spawning Pokemon in this area. Like, you'll turn on the app at 2 a.m., and then the app itself will be like, bitch, go back to sleep. This is school night. Ain't no Pokemon outside, right? And then that would solve the problem.
Yeah,
I mean,
they're talking about, like, keeping
they should make the more valuable Pokemon be in the most dangerous spots. That's the only methodology that makes sense. Otherwise,
You know what? Like, I went the other way. Like, when I thought about that, I thought about, you know what? They should release a Charizard, or like one of these like high-level Pokemon, at every school campus 30 minutes before school. And I would just like to see if, like, attendance numbers went up.
now see, that's a non-rights violating methodology to try to engender social engineering. As a general rule, I don't like social engineering, but if you're gonna do it like that with creative ways that don't coerce people. You know.
You know who, Eric? Do you know who Jeffrey Canada is? The guy who runs the Harlem Children's Zone. Yeah. You heard of him? So he runs this awesome private school, or a privately funded school in Harlem, and it's in like the poor part of Harlem. And so the public can actually get into his school by lottery. So the school was created to actually help poor kids in the area, and he basically will test and try out anything to try to narrow the achievement gap and, you know, just make kids learn good, right? And one of the things he does is for elementary kids, he bribes them with Disneyland trips. If you get good grades, you get to go to Disneyland. For his high school kids, he pays them for good grades, right? And there was an interview with him in 60 Minutes, and I love his answer to one of these questions. The interviewer asked him, they go, isn't this bribery, right? And he goes, I love bribing kids. If I can bribe kids to get them to learn, I'll bribe them. Would I like it if they learn for the, you know, intrinsic value of learning? Sure, but I'll pay them to learn too, as long as they just learn.
Yeah.
Well, if you're gonna force them to be there, shouldn't you be paying them?
Yeah. I mean, like, you know, God forbid kids should learn at a young age that you do something good and you get paid for it. I don't see where else we have that in society. It's not like people have jobs or anything.
Right. It's the only segment of society that towards whom we tolerate the kind of coercion that we do. Right? There's no other segment of society except for prisoners and mentally ill people who are locked in mental hospitals who are kept in a place without the ability to choose to leave that place on their own accord when they want to. Now, I'm not advocating that when the 4-year-old in preschool says, I am going out into this busy street right now, okay? I'm an autonomous individual, preschool teacher. You need to let me do as I wish with my own body. I'm not saying we let that kid go run out in the street. I'm just saying that if we are going to have whole populations of society locked into the system that precludes them from making simple choices like, I don't feel like this class today, I'm going to go out and have a coffee at the coffee shop, that has no possible manifestation in which people are actually making the choice to go there for reasons of their own, then that is a population that is actually oppressed.
Yep.
But can I ask something?
Yeah.
Free country.
Yeah. So what other ways can you convince kids that learning is a good thing besides bribing with money?
Well, I mean, like, you know, Eric and I, we coach debate, right? Like, I think competition is awesome, right? Just kids love competing against each other. Make it a game.
See, I don't see it as making it a game. I see it as letting them do something real and experience something real, which is why I try to talk to them like I talk to anybody else in general. Some exceptions. I mean, that's why I also don't like working with kids under 5th grade. In 5th grade, I treat differently than the rest of my debaters. But
That's a good cutoff. I like that cutoff.
Yeah, I don't like dealing with younger kids because I can't do this with younger ones than this. Younger ones are like little babies, and I don't even know quite how to deal with them. But the older ones, when they come into the class, I tell them right away. I say, okay, so this isn't a class. Okay, you guys understand? It's not a class. This is a team. You're here to. I say, basically, you should know after the very first time you compete, for sure, you should know everything I need to know about you, probably. Some students requires 2 competitions. But if after 2 competitions you aren't a debater, then there's no point in staying in here any longer.
Wow, 2.
Yeah, do you think it's more than 2?
I was going to say 3. There's not that much difference. I think I have slightly more patience. Just slightly.
I'm not saying... I've had plenty of debaters who stay with me after those 2 competitions through the end, and my point is sort of like, even if they come around and achieve reasonably well, I'm able to tell their ceiling by the end of the second tournament. At least that much, right? It doesn't mean like, oh well, you did badly in those 2 tournaments, I think you're a waste of my time. Is you can tell the whole thing, right? You can tell the whole package.
You know where they're going to bat in the rotation for the season,
or if they want to bat, right? And to me, that's the most important part. It's not. I'm not looking for being brilliant. I'm looking for wanting to win. I'm looking for being competitive, basically. Because if you're entering in a competition that is not a good fit for you, even if you're a competitive person, after a little bit of trying to win at it, you realize, especially in debate, I think kids are periodically struck by the notion that, oh my God, these kids are so much better than me, I'm never going to be that good. Now, some kids have, tons of kids, except for certain types, have that response to it initially when they come into a team that's got experienced debaters. But some of them are wrong, and you have to be the one who says, no, you actually are good, and I'm going to show you are, and you need to behave like you are. Some of them are correctly intimidated and are correct in their own assessment of themselves, and the job of the coach, I think, is to determine which ones are right and which ones are wrong, stuff like that. I'm saying it takes me 2 tournaments to tell which ones are right and which ones are wrong.
I think there's a thought that's been brewing in my mind as you talk about like your team philosophy is. I went to James Logan High School in the Bay Area. My coach, Tommy Lindsay Jr., was a huge MLK fan. He started the speech and debate program at our public high school after he had worked with juveniles. And so he started the speech and debate program at Logan. One, to have a speech and debate program, but 2, to give something for the underprivileged kids, give an activity to join, to use it to save a lot of students. And so, I think for me, because I came from a program where the speech and debate team was not only something that was a competitive activity, but also a way to, help at-risk youths, myself included. My parents split when I was at a young age, and I grew up fairly poor during my high school years. I think that's why I view this activity as something that's competitive, but I also think that it's almost like my social responsibility to try to help out kids who need help or try to steer them in a certain direction. I think that has influenced me a lot because of where I came from.
And what about
go ahead.
What about, did it shape the way you approach life, like in general?
Yeah, I believe in
Competitive.
I mean, like I think the cool thing about Lindsay as a coach, my former coach, is that on one level, he's competitive as hell. Like, I don't think it's possible to meet too many more people more competitive than he was. But at the same time, he cared about social issues. So, for instance, we would stay at our team hotel for a tournament, an away tournament, and at the very end of the tournament, he would remind myself and all the other students to go get all the free shampoos and free shampoos, conditioners, and soaps out of our bathroom, collect them so that he could donate them to like a homeless shelter. Like that sort of stuff shaped me, and so I value both sides of it. And so while I ran Brooks Academy as a private business, on my class sign-up forms, I had this little box that you could check, and it said Tommy Lindsay Jr. Scholarship. Any student who hears about my program who can't afford to take classes, just check this box, send me an email, and I will add you to our team for free. And I'll take care of your tournament fees, etc. Just because I think you shouldn't not be able to have an education and opportunity based on your income bracket. And that value was.
Did you get takers on that? Because I made an offer to a whole fucking 5th grade class in the barrio. All of you guys are welcome to come for free forever to my program. You're the only poor kids I know, so here you go. And I have one left.
One student?
One of them stuck with it.
Oh, cool. You know what? I didn't have too many takers because of my market. I'm in Fremont, San Jose, Cupertino, Palo Alto. So 95% of my customers are rich Chinese, Indian, honor students. That's my demographic. I had one kid who did take it, and then I had another student who, it's funny, like, this parent emailed me, and they were like, we'd like to take you up on this scholarship offer. The father of the family was actually a doctor, but he was over here illegally, and he was unemployed. And so he asked if he could enroll his kid for free, and I said, yeah, sure. And nice enough, his kid was in my classes for a couple months, my elementary classes. In addition to middle school, we do some elementary on the weekends. And 4 months later, he got rehired to a new job, and he came to me without saying anything, me a check for the full semester's tuition, and said, "Thank you so much for taking care of our kid and being cool about the tuition. And now that I've got rehired, we can afford it. And here you go. Thank you so much." So
that's great.
And some takers, yeah, and then I like that story too because even rich families, middle class families, they go through tough times too. I totally understand that and. The fact that he went, by himself to pay for, his kid's tuition when he can afford it, shows there's some good, honest people left.
Well, I intentionally stake out, potentially stake out abrasive sounding ways of describing my coaching philosophy because I want to stress the adversarial nature of it, which is but because I'm stressing the adversarial nature of it, and this is a natural way that you and I are going to describe our coaching philosophies differently. Your description of the coaching philosophy is very FE driven, extroverted feeling. You're worried about the other people's feelings. You're worried about doing good and doing well. I too am worried about their feelings, and I'm expressing it on the opposite vector. I'm saying I'm worried about your feelings by showing you mechanisms. I'm dealing in terms of mechanisms, you're dealing in terms of people. So my connection to my debaters, I don't doubt is any less strong than your own. And at the end of the day, I probably spend a lot more time crying in front of them than you do. I cry all the time. Because
I've cried my fair share.
Oh, you've cried a lot too? Okay, well, actually, yeah, I believe it because INFJs, maybe you can compete with us on that. But you have probably do it with more finesse, I would guess. Just a guess, maybe not.
Only because I came from a really good interp school.
Okay, well, yeah, okay, but for me, it really comes unexpectedly, and I'm just in the middle of a sentence and just started crying and stuff like that, and it's shockingly unexpected because of the cognitive function thing. It's in my 7th slot, But the thing is, as we describe our coaching philosophies, I care very much about the individual people that I'm dealing with. I try not to think about them in terms of groups as much as I can. When I went and down to see, this is the thing. All it takes to make something like this shit happen with me is somebody caring enough to call me. One teacher called me one time and was like, "Hey, I'm trying to put together." He just called me to ask me advice about setting something up, right? So I'm like, "Well, we got this tournament coming up. Why don't I come down there and I'll get your fifth graders. Give me some fifth graders, and I'll get them prepped out for the PF topic." And he was a doer, you know, and he made it happen. And he actually got me into that classroom, in a district classroom, multiple times a week, which, according to my friend Kimball, is really difficult to do, because she's tried to do that a lot, and it's really difficult, apparently. But the point is, that's a public school, right? So that was great. That worked out well. But they're not viewing it as, like if I was saying, here, you can have this thing. And what it is that I'm giving you, it's your child's entire wardrobe for the school year, and all this other stuff, you know, whatever adds up to the value of the cost of it. Then they would, of course, totally come get all that stuff, right? Who wouldn't? Because they're objects that people can understand have concrete value. But when you're offering something that's vastly, vastly more valuable, I've identified your kid as smart, and I want to turn them into a fully realized version of themselves. And you offer it to them for free, and they don't care. It's distressing.
Very. I actually offered, when I had my falling out with my former employer, I offered the middle school, where most of our students fed into our program from, I offered to go there once a week for an entire school year and teach their debate class for free. Sort of as an FU to my former employer, but you know, also like we had a lot of students there, and it's great advertising too, right?
Right.
And we got shot down. You know, like I will come in and I'll work for free, and no, we'd rather, you know, do X, Y, or Z. Very disheartening.
Why? Why does that happen?
People are stupid.
No sense. That makes no sense at all. That's complete bullshit.
People are stupid
Right.
is not why it happens. Anybody want to come up with the correct answer for why that happens?
What happens?
Why does that happen? That we get shot down? I've been trying to do the same thing with Temple City High School here. I've tried it a few times in the past few years, actually.
Well, I'm assuming then that they don't value the activity the same way you do, and they don't see that value.
That's not it either. Very simple why it happens. It's not the free market.
Explain the question again.
What?
Explain the question again.
Why is it the public schools won't take advantage of somebody who can come in and substantially improve, who's saying, you know what you're doing, the service you're providing for your clients, public school, you know that service you're providing? I'm here to offer you something. I will come in and provide this service that you're getting paid to provide. I'll provide a better service. You can take credit for it, and I'll provide it for free. And here's the extra bonus. The service I provide, like the service you provide, but exponentially better, actually manifests real change in these human beings that cause them to be substantially more intelligent than they ever otherwise would be, that cause them to be substantially more ethically attuned to the world than they substantially otherwise would be, and only marginally more inclined towards leftism and its myriad logical flaws than maybe the populace as a whole, but less inclined to the logical flaws of conservatism, and so probably easier to bring over to the obvious truths of libertarianism. So, having established all of that unnecessarily, you know, the problem is, why doesn't that matter to them? Why doesn't it matter to them that we're saying, you know how you get paid to help these clients? you can take credit for this, helping them a shitload more than you are right now. And you're kind of morally obligated to take advantage of this.
Because
Why?
well, I agree with you, but you overcomplicating it. To them, it's more of a holistic thing. It's more society paying for education, and it's like a group think thing. You bringing up all these nuances make this general system more complicated than they want it to be.
Well, I know, but look, if there were free market pressures, they'd be saying, well, look, Jane, hey, this is the vice principal and the principal sitting in their offices. Jane, listen, we are bleeding students right now. I am down to classes full of, 7 kids in them, and that's not going to sustain this institution. We need to do something to either attract new people or cut staff, cut class size. Cut the number of total classes so we combine classes. John, we can't do that. Look at the schedule here. There's no way we can combine these classes. They conflict at the same time. Well, then fucking do something, because we're going to all be out of work here in a second if we can't put together some functional product to attract people to this place.
They
Basically, just
Here I am. I would like to do exactly that for you for free. When is that ever going to happen? In the free market, it's not. In the free market rewards me enough that I can afford to go make this ridiculous offer to the public schools.
people who run schools, you talking about SJ types. They don't want to change. They don't want the system to be different.
Of course they don't. Here's your two choices. Your choice number one. You can have a system which you get paid to do your job, and it doesn't matter if you do it well, because you pretty much can't get fired. And there's no metric to tell if you're doing it well, because nothing's specific enough to say that teacher's to blame for this failure of the student as a whole. And let's, make it such that people have to go to school, so that parents are going to think, well, of course Johnny has to go there, so come on, Johnny. They're going to feel as though they're doing their duty rather than the school is doing its duty like it should be, right? They structured it to make it think that the student has to go to school. It should be the teacher has an opportunity to affect some sort of impact to justify their money. I'm the debater's helper. I'm not their boss, right? Once I've enabled them to this position, then the relationship becomes as it should be. I'm your helper. You know what you need. You're the debater. You're the one out there in the fray all the time. You're the one with better round mechanics than me. I can't actually beat you in a debate, even though I can't, unless we each made our own cases, then I could beat you. But I can't actually beat you because your round mechanics are better and I can't flow for shit. And I'm here to help you. How can I help you? I'm limited in what I can help you with. Some things you're better at me at already, and I can't really help you with that. If you need that kind of help, I'll find a high school policy debater to come in and help you, like Justin. Right? That's the proper role of the teacher to the student. But it can only be enabled once you tell them, once you teach them to raise their middle fingers to the status quo. That's important. They have to. I say, when your teacher assigns that poster, you ask her, you say, have you done a calculus on the educational impact to time required ratio here at all? Is this going to actually produce total educational impacts that justify the time that you're asking us to spend on it? And how are you measuring those educational impacts? Then I don't think any of my debaters have ever actually asked a question that question of a teacher, but that's what I want them to do. And at least I tell them that's what you should do. And I encourage them to ask me that question any fucking time they want, And they often do tell me, like, Eric, you're wasting our time, or you're getting off topic, or you're being Eric again. Because I do. Like, I do this. I rant. I'm known to rant.
So is this philosophy you talk about, this teaching philosophy, is it economically driven? Should it be driven by money? Or should it be driven by the simple sake of educating the kids?
It's not economically driven for me, to be honest. It's um, it's right and just that my passion for it be rewarded by the free market. And
Yeah.
if we have a system set up such that people's passions are rewarded in proportion to their actual merit, then they will find the right jobs rather than settling for wage slavery. It's difficult to imagine a world in which somebody's a teacher for very long and wholly ineffective if there's a direct correlation between client satisfaction and ability to make money.
Agree.
What about you, Stephan?
I have to agree with Eric. I think he puts it very nicely when he says it'd be great if we can be rewarded for our passions. I think anybody who, or most people, not all of them, most people who get into teaching have to care about kids and education on some level. And as much as I care about kids and education, me and Eric were talking earlier about how we view the management of teams in this, in debate and this competitive activity. And, I say this at the beginning of the semester in my classes. I tell students, I'm competitive as hell. I want you to win. Winning is important to me. But ultimately, to steal a phrase from, I don't know if you guys have seen this speech, Randy Pausch, Really Achieving Your Childhood Dreams, that Carnegie Mellon University professor who did that last lecture and passed away a couple years ago. He used a term in his speech that I really like, and that's head fake learning. We teach kids speech and debate, we want them to talk good and debate good or well or whatever, but ultimately we want them to develop skills that will help them in life. We send our kids to Little League football, for instance, not so they know how to tackle people well, but so that they learn teamwork and hard work, etc. And so, yeah, I do believe that there's, on some level a responsibility to value education, to value kids, but at the same time, as Eric mentions, if you're good at something, you should be compensated. And when we were talking just a minute ago about how both Eric and I have gone to schools and offered to do our job for free, and then all of a sudden we're surprised that we get turned down, I was just thinking in my mind, if anything, Eric and I, we should have, or I at least should have paid more attention to one of the best quotes in one of my favorite movies, the Batman Dark Knight movie, the one with Heath Ledger as Joker, where he tells, the mob bosses, if you're good at something, never do it for free. And in this case, it's nice when the market can actually compensate you. And the market should compensate you. I was actually talking to a colleague of mine the other day in Cupertino, and Cupertino's, one of the richest, I think that's Apple headquarters. It's one of the richest cities, around in the Bay Area. They have an awesome school district, and they had plans to build housing for teachers near their school, right? So, one of the benefits you get if you chose to become a teacher in this awesome school district was housing, and the parents of the school district shot it down. And so, yeah, I'm like, I thought that sucked, because even myself as a teacher, I thought, for people who teach K through 12, if you're not going to pay me a fair market wage, especially here in the Bay Area, and I'm sure in Los Angeles and SoCal it's the same, if you're not going to compensate me enough to even live in the market that I teach in, at least take care of my rent. And if you leave it up to school administrators and parents, they won't even do that for you. So, agree with Eric. Got to care about kids on some level, but at the same time, you also have to take care of yourself too, and hopefully the market compensates our job fairly as it does most other jobs.
I think that I could give a first-person kind of perspective on this, coming from the perspective of, the student, because I'm still a high schooler, but I am a debate coach, so I have a little bit of experience with both of these. I think it's a huge disadvantage for kids not to have the skills that debate teaches them, because I see it now, talking to my peers, talking to my friends, nobody really can engage with these kinds of topics on the level that I can. And so it's really frustrating because nobody knows how to debate at this age unless they've been in some sort of debate program.
It
And
doesn't
like the
change.
Cal
No matter
What?
how old you get. That's the rest of the world. Go on. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, and so people aren't really equipped to deal with these sorts of issues, grapple with the sorts of issues in their daily lives, right? A lot of people just blindly swallow what the media tells them, stuff like that, and they can't like critically engage. And I think that's so important because Strauss was a huge molding factor in my decision to pursue high school debate, right? And I think that debate has become part of my personality. And for somebody to be deprived of that ability to think about what's around you, it's just you're just giving up your independence, and I think that's a huge crime. So that's why, I do believe a lot in debate. That's why I moved away from competing so much and started doing more coaching. Because, I think that if younger kids aren't able to understand what it means to critically engage with their surroundings, then I think that they just miss out on a lot of what life has to offer.
Well, Justin did a spectacular job at nationals, and I watched him have that coach experience of bonding with debaters that he's working with directly, and they're advancing and advancing. And once they got into breaks, I basically didn't talk to him at all anymore. I got Justin involved. I got Freeman involved to give him an inspirational speech, and Justin was involved the whole time. I said, okay, Justin, here we are. This is what we hit. We got to come up with answers to this. Justin and talked to this other guy that he knew, and Freeman talked to somebody he knew, and I don't know, shit happened then. It was just like that's the beauty of having a high school debater or somebody young, is that they have connections in the community. They know people. They know people around, and they have shitloads of back files, and they've got everything you need.
That's why it's nice to be Switzerland and get along with everybody.
Yeah, well, I don't get along with everybody, so it's very important to me that the wonderful people in this room who are on my team, which are Abe and Justin, and is there anybody else in here?
Don't cry.
No. Yeah, who coach for me and stuff, that they are nicer. They're nice. They're cool. They're good with people. They don't make people hate them. So that's an excellent thing. And Justin, I admire that of you. You're a very ENTP like in your thinking, ENFP, because of debate, I think, but you've got all the advantages of not being an ENTP. You're not nearly as crazy as an ENTP, and you're not flighty like a normal ENFP because you've trained yourself to do some serious thinking. We've got a super cool. I don't know. We've got such a cool LD case, but Justin probably doesn't want me to talk about it at all.
Oh, don't spill the beans. We can do it when we break it. Then we can talk about it.
All right. Yeah, I got you. I understand.
Yeah.
I've always viewed, to sort of piggyback on that, when I was at James Logan High School, I always viewed our team structure similar to The Godfather, which I'm a huge fan of. Lindsay is Don Corleone, and all his, coaches are the capos, and that's how your team is structured. So, you don't have to get people to like you if you're the Don. That's the job of the capo, is to get along with all the rest of the families and to carry out your business.
Well, yeah. I try to be extremely egalitarian. I get the analogy, and I like the analogy, but I do I model my approach to business stuff like I'm avoiding the problem that you ran into. Abe and Kunkel are doing something as part of autonomy, but they're doing it independently of me, basically. And then I only take a small little bit, and they get almost all the money.
You mean they have autonomy?
Yeah, right. So autonomy is structured around this principle of autonomy. It is. I don't want employees. I want what would be in the law business called an associate in that capacity, right? I think it's like
But what you do is mutually beneficial.
no, it's more like instead of getting paid, is that if you have an employee, you pay them a certain amount of money and say, here, you get this much a month or this much an hour to do this kind of work that I'm giving you. But
Contractor.
and then those people don't have any access to the financial information really beyond that what they get. But instead, what I'm saying to Abraham and Kunkel is, okay, go set up a program where you guys do your work in this capacity here. And I give them guidance as to how to set things up. I coordinate with them on scheduling and stuff with me, and the program's going to want a certain amount of me because I'm the person that put on the advertising, basically. But I'm not going to really be doing any of the work. So my perspective is that I'll take a cut, like 10%, and they'll get the rest of that because I'm not really doing anything, but it wouldn't happen without me. But it's a much better arrangement for them because business owners who are exploitative, they want to pay a certain amount of money per hour, and then if that class starts making bank, they just think like, aha, well, see, my smart business idea worked out. That might be fine if they're saying, I've got this great protocol, these people are replaceable, I can plug and play. I just be like, okay, well, the protocol is what's succeeding for us. I'll replace this coach with this one. You should run the same kind of program, and it'll be just fine. That does not work at all. It would never work. And as a consequence, it's not reasonable to treat debate coaches like employees. And frankly, I don't really think it's reasonable to treat anybody like an employee. I don't like the idea of having employees, and I don't like the idea of having jobs that require employee-style behavior from people. Having said that, at some point, I probably will hire a maid.
Good job.
Clean out the
No,
man cave.
that- Definitely agree. I think the mistake that the tutoring center that I used to work for and a lot of other businesses who try to get into this game is you're right. They view the assistant coaches that are doing a lot of the work as pawns on the chessboard when really they're one of the most important aspects of this business. People follow good coaches. It's just what we do is almost like NFL or NBA. Like people know who the better coaches are. They're going to go there, and there is a difference in quality. You can't just plug any guy in there.
Right, and
Yeah.
it's absolutely true. And when I made that statement, here's a little FE dance for you. This is what happens when you have FE third slot instead of second slot. I'm less skilled at the other people's emotions thing, but when I made that statement, I was certainly not referring to anything about your program or how you set it up. I assumed that I just assumed that regardless of how you set it up, I can tell by talking to you that you were abundantly fair with everybody. I know that. I can tell. So I wasn't talking about you at all. I was talking about.
Oh no, but even your critiques are accurate of my program too.
I'm sorry, say again.
I was gonna say no, you're very fair. No, even those critiques are. I ran into that problem, and your assessment's correct. Like I had employees, they were paid hourly, and while they're making pretty damn good money for being college students, if people, and that's the mistake I learned, if people are not invested, right, and people know that, if I'm here and I'm paid hourly, and it doesn't matter if I do a shitty job or a good job, or if I put in a little extra time, I clock in, I clock out, and they don't have a stake in what you're building, then you're going to run into problems. And that's the problem that I ran into. It's that, I'm running this large business, and I'm having to take care of a bunch of stuff that people just aren't concerned about.
And see, that's mostly for practical reasons why more than anything else I want to do it like this is I don't want to be an administrator ever again.
Yep. Same.
I'm tired of administrating, and there's got to be a better way to structure things in life. I think there is. I think there's a better way to structure raising of children. It should be apprentice driven. It should be, okay, let's figure out what type of person you are, what personality type. Let's find the sort of work that you actually naturally are drawn to and can be successful at. Let's direct you to working on real things right away. So the reason debate's successful, in my opinion, is because it's real. It's not. There's no false extrinsic motivation driving the student performance. It's
I
not.
think that
The thing you get in reward of it is not arbitrary. It's not like, well, I got an A, but so did Johnny, and so did Judy, and so did else. Justin, I want you to talk. I'm sorry. I think I cut you off, and
oh no, it's fine. I was
it's my
about to
habit.
cut you
I
off
apologize.
next.
Continue, please. I want to hear more about what you have to say. Even if you were done, I want to hear you say more.
Oh, okay. I think that in a related vein, I think that the reason that debate as a program has to be handled so specially is that debate is a lot more about soul than anything. You know, debate is not like, you know, the divorced academic kind of character of maybe math, maybe history, maybe language arts that are traditionally taught in school. Debate has a lot more soul to that. You need to be invested in your arguments in some way. You need to have that sort of thing. So that's why I think that a lot of debate academies that try to approach, you know, try to approach debate as like from a business standpoint instead of from like a soulful standpoint. That's why I think like business people jumping into debate, never having been debaters, ultimately don't do very well because they don't understand what it means to be a debater, right? I think that the best debate schools are the debate schools that are run by people who have actually done debate, because you will never be able to get that subjective experience, never be able to understand what it means to be a debater, learn debate, like participate in debate, run a debate school like that, because you need to have that common ground with the students, and that common ground with the students is necessarily from having that experience yourself. So I think that it's more of like a passing down the torch kind of thing, rather than like looking at it from a business perspective. But it is a little bit unfortunate because the business perspective is necessarily how one has to on some level look at it, because, you know, we can talk about this whole debate all we want, but at the end of the day, in order to have a debate school survive past day one, you need to have some sort of business element to it, because you need to be able to sustain it in some way, which is a little unfortunate. In an ideal world, you should be able to have, like, you know, a room where everybody's talking and everybody's learning debate, but, you know, the world that we live in, there's got to be some business element to it.
I like the use of the word soul in conjunction with debate. One, because I think you're correct, and two, because I've always felt that I traded mine in by the second year of debate. I always warn my students that if you do this activity, at some point you're going to become really jaded. Like, one of the lessons I do with my students is I talk about how the government actually has put a number on the value of your life, and I show them that number, and then I go, you know, we use that number to make policy decisions. You know, why do you think we still have alcohol and drunk driving? And I say that while I'm drinking beer. You know, why do we still have alcohol and we have drunk driving accidents? Well, the food and the beverage industry makes this much money. Your life is worth this much. This much times 10,000 drunk driving accidents doesn't equal this much. Therefore, beer for everybody, right? And at some point you lose your soul. But to build on what you said, that's why when it comes to schools, actually, parents will ask me for summer camp recommendations all the time. And I have a really hard time answering that question, because the only school I can ever recommend, really, honestly, is, and I don't know what your relationship, you guys, with this school in SoCal is, but I like Victory Briefs. I was a Victory Briefs product. That's run by Victor G, I believe, is a lawyer down in SoCal. And I had a good experience there my freshman year going into sophomore year. My understanding is that he's at that school, or at least he was for like a whole decade that I went there, and then the 10 years after. And I go judge at big circuit tournaments, and I'll judge with Victor. He'll still be actively coaching kids. And so I think anybody who's, you know, doesn't just put their name on it and then take off, but like you said, you know, there's soul to it. They actually were a debater. They like this activity, and, you know, Victor's a lawyer now, so he must love argumentation on some level. I think that's important.
Right. Very important to have, like, still have the personality debate, because debate is a very personality-driven kind of activity. I think that's what makes it so special. That's why it's so unique.
A couple things. Yeah, that's for LD, I'll say, well, if you can get into Victory Briefs, go to Victory Briefs, for sure. That's the top one I say for LD. But for other ones, I'll usually defer. I'll say, I don't really know. Go talk to Justin, or I don't really know. Go to any of the big college ones, should be fine. go Stanford,
Yeah.
go because especially if it's one of my middle schoolers, they often are going. They're often asking me either ideally after their 7th grade year. That's where I'd love for them to go. But often after their 8th grade year, at which point I don't really care about them as much because they're high school students. That's not my. That's not where I'm. That's not the playing field that I'm playing on right now. So, I like high. I'm trying to get into Temple City High School still because what happens is this: at this particular group, I've got a set of strong 8th graders who are Temple City High School students. Temple City is the city I live in, and my own daughter just graduated from there. And even when my kid was going there, I tried this and I couldn't get him to let me work there for free.
You should have charged them. Maybe they would have let you in.
So I got a special deal for you. $100,000. 1 day a week.
I'm shocked and surprised at how little some of the coaches in our league, even here in the Bay Area, make. In the Bay Area, we're competitive as hell. And on Friday, this past Friday, the coach of Milpitas High School, Charles Schutzbaum, big guy, I helped him move apartment buildings. And he's always been very hospitable. His school hosts tournaments all the time. He posted on Facebook, and I need help moving. I'm like, shit, well, you're staying till 1 a.m. cleaning up your damn school. Every time my kids debate, the least I can do is help you move, right? And so I was helping him move, and then I think a lot of coaches are making this, his yearly stipend, September through June, is, I think, $2,400. And that's ridiculous for the amount of hours and time and admin work and dealing with parents and what have you. $2,400 and
That's fucked.
yeah, you're probably going to spend more on food during the school year
He gets
and
a
eat your
salary,
stipend.
right? Because what they do is they say, "Well, look, here's your salary for your teaching job, whatever that is." And
He's a
then-
physics teacher.
And then here's a stipend for doing the debate coaching. Here's the thing we're not going to tell you. If you're anywhere close to caring or decent, the little extra thing we're giving you, a little extra job here, we're giving you a little extra piece of money for your extra job, will be way more time consuming, way more important, and just ultimately turn out to be the life of the person who's getting that $2,400 a year stipend.
Well, it's ridiculous.
Either that or you're giving it to the wrong person.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get any stipend when I was a debate coach. Rebecca, I had 4 different English classes. There was one year when I had 5th grade English, 6th grade English, 7th grade English, 8th grade English, critical thinking, and debate in 7 periods.
Oof.
And I didn't get any stipend for any, like the debate class was just considered part of my job. But the debate, what happened was I realized, I'm really glad they did that though. It worked out well for me because I realized, I don't want to teach English. I do hate this. I thought I did. I
But the
hanging out with
symbolism.
kids, I like kids. I like hanging out with them. They're cool.
Sometimes.
Yeah. As fun as Romeo and Juliet is, there's no arguments to be had.
Okay, well, thank you all for participating in this episode of Talking Facebook, and thank you at home for watching it. This is a long one at almost a full hour, and it's mostly about chatting about debate and education and stuff. Thanks for watching.